Scholarship as conversation. It is important to know how to find and use information well in a variety of contexts. Recognizing when you need information and understanding how it is produced, valued, and disseminated will influence what you have access to, how you access it, and how you use it. The Framework for Information Literacy for Higher Education is a guiding document about information literacy developed by the Association of College and Research Libraries, also known as ACRL. It is made up of 6 interconnected core concepts called frames. This video will focus on the frame Scholarship as Conversation. This concept helps information users to understand how scholarly information works by comparing it to the familiar concept of conversations between friends. Information users can think critically about the context of any one information source they consume, who is included and excluded from these conversations, and consider their own participation in these scholarly conversations. Conversation metaphor. Imagine you go to a party. Sure, there may be people dancing, but there's also undoubtedly a lot of conversations going on. These conversations started before you arrived, and they'll continue after you leave, and even after the party is over. In each of these conversations, there will be agreements and disagreements. This is exactly how scholarly conversations work as well, just with a different scope of time and geography. Citations in a scholarly work are indicators that point towards earlier parts of the conversation on that topic. However, as represented in this work alone, those other contributions are all filtered through this article's author and their worldview. You also don't see how other scholars respond to this work in the future. Therefore, any one scholarly book or article you read is just a small snapshot of the overall conversation on the topic. You don't have time to read everything on a topic. Generally, no one does. But reading a variety of sources can help give you a broader view of the conversations scholars are having about that topic. One final note about these scholarly conversations is that publications are the main way that scholars communicate with each other, but they are not the only way. You don't have access to the information shared over coffee at a conference or through phone calls between scholars, but you may have access to conference papers and information shared through social media and scholars' websites. Sometimes these modes of conversation share information that, for whatever reason, isn't published in the literature. So don't forget to check these out if such information is appropriate to your topic. Who is left out? It is important to consider who is left out of scholarly conversations. Researchers who study people filter the information they gather from their subjects before presenting it in their writing. What is shared in publication is shaped by the author's worldview and the discipline's methodologies. For example, in anthropology, the people studied are not directly part of the scholarly conversation. Instead, the author is sharing their observations and interpretations of those people. Similarly, medical research is conducted on human subjects, but those subjects, as well as those who experience the conditions studied, do not directly have a voice in the conversations about medical research. Scholarly conversation networks are a product of existing power structures, giving a platform to some while creating barriers that prevent others' participation. Additionally, people without certain credentials generally cannot participate in these conversations. Even people with such credentials may face barriers to full participation if they are members of an oppressed group. It's important to remember that scholarly conversations are not the only conversations with value. Many topics will benefit from voices outside of the scholarly conversation. You may be able to tap into such conversations through journalism, social media, and personal interviews. You can find out more about this in the Authority is Constructed and Contextual video. You are a producer of information. You are an active participant in scholarly conversations because you read and cite others' work in your research assignments. You may not publish your research papers in prominent scholarly journals, but you do have an audience with your professor and classmates. You probably share some of what you learn from scholarly literature in non-scholarly conversations. You may even have an opportunity to present a poster at an undergraduate conference or participate in your professor's research that will get published in scholarly journals. You may be lucky enough to see how your contributions have changed the conversation, but even if you don't, you probably have affected it in some way. Scholarship as conversation. As we've discussed in this lesson, scholarly conversations on any given topic are complex. Most of these conversations have been going on for a long time and will continue for even more. Throughout the research process, it's necessary to think critically about the information sources we use and how they fit into the broader conversations on that topic. Don't hesitate to ask a librarian if you would like to discuss how your information sources fit into the broader scholarly conversation.